has made his way to our studio. RC fresh off a red eye, and fresh, I must say, looking spectacular.
My guy.
Ready to go. We'll have plenty of baseball today. Dominique Foxworth's up with us this morning as well. And Buster Olney will be here to break down the trade deadline, which is tonight. And while you were sleeping, we had a massive trade in baseball. Perhaps the biggest shoe has dropped, and it is worn by Eugenio Suarez, the most coveted power bat on the market. He's headed from Arizona to Seattle. Suarez, who has 36 home runs and leads the National League with 87 RBIs, returns to a Mariners team that he played for in 2022 and 23. Three prospects go the other way. Mariners now have two of the best power hitters in the game as he joins Cal Raleigh. Both have 35 home runs this year. So the Mariners are the second team in history to enter August with two players with 35 or more home runs. You may have heard of the first one. That was Marison Mantle in 61. We all know how that season ended. Again, Robert Stanberry, only III, will join us later with the latest on the trade deadline. Meanwhile, we've got football tonight, people. The season begins, sort of, with the Hall of Fame game. Shefty, let's start our hurry up there. Chargers and Lions, what can we see?
Not much of any regulars tonight, but I think everybody wants to see Trey Lance start for the Chargers tonight. He will take reps through the first half. You want to get a look at Amari and Hampton, the first-round draft pick, with teams not knowing exactly when Najee Harris, the Chargers free agent acquisition, will return from the fireworks incident that he suffered on July 4th. So there are some questions there about who we'll see tonight for the Chargers. But, Greeny, it's football.
Yes, it's football, and we're all looking forward to that at least for a little while. Now, is this guy going to be playing football anytime soon? What's the latest with Terry McLaurin?
The two sides remain apart on Terry McLaurin's value. Again, there is a disagreement here. I think he would view himself more along the lines of a DK Metcalf, who was traded this offseason and got an average of $33 million a year from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the Commanders see him like that right now. We'll see if the two sides can figure out their differences.
All right, and then there's the one in Cincinnati. Trey Hendrickson, you reported he's coming in.
He's in, and he was at the facility yesterday. He did not practice. He waved to friends. He acknowledged everybody there, spoke to reporters afterwards, and he said the things are exactly where they've been, which is this. They are in near agreement on the length of the deal. They are in near agreement on the value of the deal, but they are nowhere close to an agreement on the guaranteed money in the deal, and that is holding up everything and preventing a long-term extension for Trey Hendrickson.
And look, this feels critical here, and with RC and Dominique, because this is a team that has started slowly historically. We've seen the last 6 years, they're 1-11 in weeks 1 and 2. We've been over that time and again. And it doesn't seem like this one's getting closer. For example, every time we talk about Micah Parsons, right, we always say the same thing. Well, that deal will obviously get done at some point here.
Hold on. That deal is also nowhere close to being done. And everybody has a perception, like you do, Greeny, that the deal between the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons is going to get done. And maybe one day it will, because negotiations take twists and turns that you don't expect. But today, Wednesday, July 31st, they are further apart on a deal than they were in late March. And it is not trending towards getting done. It's trending right now the other way. And I think there are major questions as to how this situation will be resolved, because I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are particularly pleased with the way these negotiations have gone, and I don't think Micah Parsons is particularly pleased with the way these negotiations have gone. And there haven't been any significant exchanges of proposals in recent weeks, or really months, since we go back to early April, when it sounded like Jerry Jones spoke at the owners' meetings and made it sound like a deal was at the doorstep, but it's not. And here's the thing. Each side is going to have some decisions to make here, because if they don't get a deal done, the Dallas Cowboys would have Micah Parsons under contract this season. And mind you, he still hasn't practiced yet, so he would have a decision to make.
Right.
He's under contract this year for $24 million. They could tag him next year for about $30 million. They control his rights for the next 2 years for anywhere between $52 and $58 million, which, by the way, is just a little bit more than some of these pass rushers are getting on an annual basis right now. So where is this going to go? I don't know, but I could tell you that a deal feels a long ways away, if there's one at all. And I think there are questions that need to be asked. Everybody's operated under this assumption that a deal between Dallas and Micah Parsons is going to get done. And I would say it's the opposite right now. You have to wonder when it'll get done, and something's going to have to change until the deal actually does get done.
Okay, so here we go. Everything I was planning to do now, Allie, we're changing everything because that obviously changes the conversation.
I think he's absolutely right. And he talked about twists and turns. Those would be the sort of twists and turns you see on the rock and roller coaster at Disney. Like, this isn't close. And now you're in a position where Jerry Jones felt like he had a deal that could be done. And Micah Parsons was headed and trending that way. And you find yourself in camp, and you have to pay attention to the tea leaves as well. Think about a Zach Martin deal that gets extended, a Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, a CeeDee Lamb. You weren't hearing Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones speak this way of a player at the caliber of Micah Parsons. On the other side of that, Micah Parsons has shown up. Micah Parsons has been in camp. Micah Parsons has been a presence throughout this entire offseason, and still this deal isn't getting closer. There is frustration on the Jones side, but there's also beginning to be frustrations on Micah Parsons' side, who feels like he's done everything that he needs to do to get a deal. So what once seemed like forever could be headed for a divorce that we see documentaries made of. And I think when you look at the Dallas Cowboys and where they are, they understand that they hold the cards. And when you hear Stephen Jones say he has to want the deal, he has to want a deal, they're saying he has to want the deal that we are willing and offering to give them and give him, and right now he's not.
Am I living, Dominique Foxworth, am I living in a bizarro world? I mean, I woke up this morning thinking, well, this will obviously just get done, and now I have two very credible people telling me, no, Greeny, it is not obviously going to get done.
No, I mean, it's shocking to me also. I think that we assume that a player of that caliber, and also we have this history of Jerry Jones where we almost think of it as like an act, and none of us really believes it's a real negotiation, that Jerry Jones is just doing this to get attention. The idea that this is real and Micah is not participating in whatever charade that we think Jerry Jones is trying to perpetuate, that should be scary. Like, RC referenced the rock and roller coaster. Rock and roller coaster is fun. This ain't fun. This is something entirely different for the fans and the Cowboys players, because their season is hanging in the balance. It's a lot like the Trey Hendrickson thing in that he is the most important piece to that defense. This is the centerpiece. This is essentially if you're messing around with your quarterback on the other side. He's that impactful on the defense.
Let me say this. The season opens in 35 days. It opens 5 weeks from now. And I can say with fair certainty that nobody knows how this is going to go between now and then. So we're talking about the rock and roller coaster. Greeny, this is going to be great for you. You're going to love it on this show.
Yes.
Because there's going to be a lot to talk about with this particular situation. And all we have to do is follow all the little things that have transpired, right? We had Jerry Jones come out at the owners' meetings and basically say a deal was almost done. We had Micah Parsons step in and say, we're not getting a deal done without my agent, David Mulgeta, who was not involved in those talks. Jerry and Mike, I think we're getting closer to a deal. Then the agent got brought in. Then there's been no meaningful conversation since then. Mike is not practicing. Jerry's speaking on the opening day of training camp. Nobody feels good about the particular situation, and that's why I say a deal today is a lot further away than it was in late March.
But as you say, though, Shefty, you're talking about Jerry Jones publicly saying they don't need an agent to get a deal done. That's not how negotiations work. You don't get to just sit down with the player and say, okay, here's what we're offering you. Here's what we are willing to give you. And the player gets to say, oh, yeah, let's sign it right in front of you. Especially when you're dealing with an agent like David Mulgeta. This isn't an agent who only has Micah Parsons and was lucky to get this caliber of player. This is someone you have to deal with when you're talking about the C.J. Strouds, when you're talking about the Jordan Loves, the Jalen Ramseys, the Derwin James. And so for Jerry Jones to come out and make that statement, that means that there were conversations that were being had that didn't involve David Mulgeta, and going forward in any negotiations, they are going to.
And I agree with what you're saying, but I also say that Jerry has had a history of owning this team and doing deals with his very top players by himself, without an agent. So he's done that in the past. So he was doing things that he's done in the past, nothing abnormal, nothing that he hasn't done. And I think he and Micah made enough progress that it was difficult to walk that back once you wanted to bring in the agent. And let's just go to what's happened since then. There have not been any offers exchanged. It's been reported that David Mulgeta has called the Cowboys and they have not returned his calls. Mike is still not practicing. The season opens in 5 weeks. And I just think there are a whole wide range of options that now get introduced. But the one thing that is definitely true is whereas Greeny and others are thinking a deal is inevitable and a formality, that is not the case. It may come back to that in the end, but today it doesn't feel that way.
Dominique Foxworth is the once and perhaps future leader of the NFL.